Synthaholics.
Welcome to Synthaholics. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Today we've got a very special live episode. Today we've got the people that you might know from Rocky Mountain Geek Tank. We have Guy Davis, as always. And we have Troy.
Who you might remember from Rogue One.
Oh, yeah, my God. Rogue One. It's going back.
He was on a Rogue One episode.
And we have Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea.
Hello.
This is our first time meeting.
Yeah.
And you have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and David Duncan. Today we are going to be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, the second episode. But the conversation probably will meander if I know the guys and gals from Rocky Mountain Geek Tank. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on your show.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us on your live stream.
Yeah,
just edit in.
I feel like this is kind of like the chocolate and peanut butter thing. You got Synthaholics in my Geek Tank.
You got chocolate in my peanut butter. You got peanut butter in my chocolate.
Yeah, guys, this is going to be a crazy stunning episode because we're probably not going to edit anything in this. This is a live broadcast, so anyone seeing this live, we'll interact with people, so we'll be saying random things that you may not understand. You just kind of roll with it. So it's going to be a different episode.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, Geek Tank's going to start rolling live here in just a second, and so there's going to be even weirder stuff because we're going to do our Geek Tank intro in the middle of your episode, so I apologize for that in advance. I know. You guys are going to divorce me right now.
Just edit it out the way we always edit everything.
Yeah, we will edit
it out in beautiful.
That's it. There you go.
Yeah,
best hat.
I love your hat. So
best hat I've ever seen.
For those of you listening, Aaron's wearing the awesomest hat ever.
It's actually a wreath. It was just hanging on the hook behind me, and I was like, I got to wear that.
Yeah, we're just going to call him Urethra for the rest of this.
Urethra.
It's very ferny.
It burns. It burns a lot.
Okay, now with that, let's go ahead and go live with Geek Tank. You guys ready?
We're ready.
Just stick to the script, okay, guy?
Right. I'll totally skip to the script. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Skip to the script. Okay, here we go.
Everything's going so well.
Already, we're just awesome at this point. Here we go. Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Chelsea.
And this...
Hi, I'm David.
And then Aaron.
They're already off script.
Off script.
And this is Geek Tank.
We could have, tried to make sure that worked beforehand and just didn't.
This never came up.
All right. We will edit it in
It never
post.
came up.
Just like our banner says. We will totally edit this in post. We promise. So, we're here...
When are we going to pay our editor?
We're here with the folks from Synthaholics, which is a Star Trek podcast.
It's a Star Trek AA group.
Yep, it's a Star Trek AA group, and they're out in New York, and so this is like the awesome show where we have like two people from New York.
It's like coast to coast.
It's a coast to coast, except we're not on the coast. So
that's right.
We didn't quite make it.
We're not on the coast either.
Brent is already here.
Yeah.
Hello, Brent. Good to see you, man. Good to have you on board.
Hello, Brent.
So, yeah, we're going to talk today about Lower Decks. That's what we're going to do. And it's going to be a hodgepodge mesh of all of us just chatting at the same time. So
this is about Magic the Gathering decks that are like subpar.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's do that one, too.
Lower decks.
Lower decks, yeah.
They're not as good a deck as... These are like any kind of black deck in my book. Actually, Blue Decks, I think, are the ones that I like.
I was gonna say Blue Deck, man. Blue Decks are slow burn.
I'll say any deck made entirely out of the set from Fallen Empires or Homelands.
Oh yeah, Thalids.
Thalids.
The Thalid shooter. So anyway, we're not going to talk about. We are totally not going to talk about Magic. We are not.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about the GoBots.
Right.
All right.
GoBots.
No. This is the Disney podcast. Remember, we're talking about Mulan and.
I mean, I am the next Disney princess. It's gonna happen one day.
Oh, by the way, the news is that Geek Tank has been purchased by Disney, and now Chelsea is the next Disney princess.
Where's my check?
Yeah, where's my check? And can I curse a lot more than your usual Disney princess?
Right.
And if the answer is no,
they're going to kick back a percentage of what they make off of us. That's our check.
The swear jar check.
So we're going to owe Disney money, is what you're saying,
right?
they're mouse makes
great. Just to make Chelsea a princess, we ended up owing Disney money, and that's how this show went.
That's how that would go.
We're all broke.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Lower Decks, guys.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, what is Lower Decks?
So Lower Decks is the newest addition to the Star Trek universe. It is produced by a guy named Mike McMahon, right? No, yeah, McMahon, right.
McMahon.
Wow.
I can't say it. I've lost it.
McMahon.
So, who actually apparently is a big Star Trek fan, and that's showing up quite a bit in the show.
Yeah, it is.
There are some things in there that are
They're deep cuts.
Funny. There are some serious deep cuts. We've watched the first 2 episodes, and Britt, we don't know where you are on this, so we've promised to be spoiler-free, just so that you don't get caught up in spoilers on stuff in case you haven't seen today's episode, or in case you haven't seen these and anybody else who's watching, not just Britt. If you guys have not seen the episode, we're going to try to stay spoiler-free for our section, and then after the Synthaholics, we'll go on to the Synthaholics side where we'll go into spoilers. So
we're going to do a read-through of the script, right?
We're going to totally read through the script at that point.
Okay.
So Lower Decks is the newest one. It centers around ensigns who are in the lower decks of the USS Cerritos, which is not to be confused with the Cheetos. That's a different ship.
Or the Dorito.
Or the Doritos, which is a different ship as well. So obviously, I think all these names are places in California, I'm noticing. Like all the shuttles are named after places in
Yosemite.
Yeah. And the ship is named after a place in California as well. And I noticed that the captain, this is not necessarily a spoiler, the captain has a California flag in her.
Yeah, I saw that.
I did not catch that at all.
I saw that. Yeah. That's in the first episode. Yeah.
There is
I did catch the Jeff Foxworthy guy.
Yeah, clearly the ship is a Californian ship. So there you go. They just do Californian things, I guess. So they've got sunshine, I guess, in the holodeck all the time. So there you go. I don't know.
She's a California girl.
Yeah. Although it is funny, I don't know if the captain's from California, but you notice that Boimler is from California. He's from Modesto. So
yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
It's like there are a lot of somebody's just sitting there like walking down the streets of LA going, where else can we add now?
Well, they're all probably from LA, and so they're all just like, let's just mine my own past.
Which I guess would make sense. We'd probably have the USS Red Rocks here as our ship, and we'd probably
there you go,
throwing stuff all over it that nobody'd be like, what is that?
USS Buena Vista.
Yeah, Buena Vista. And they'd be always pronouncing it wrong. They'd be always pronouncing it like Buena Vista.
It's supposed to be Buena Vista, but they pronounce it Buena Vista, and all of us cringe.
Right? Or the USS Arvada, which nobody ever gets right.
Oh, man.
That's one that you can instantly tell when you don't have a local.
Because they're trying to use that crazy thing where you actually look at letters and spell it out the way it sounds.
Right.
I know. That's why the English language is very, very tricky.
Yes.
We just cannibalize other languages for words we want when we don't have the word.
Well, if you go to Boston and you go to the outside town called Peabody, they don't call it Peabody. They call it Peabody.
Right. I actually didn't know that place was called spelled Peabody, I thought it was PBD.
Yeah, Peabody.
Like they were calling it like it was post Boston district or something like that.
Yeah,
they were just calling it Peabody.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Down the street from me, we've got Galapagos as the famous Galapagos Islands, not Galapagos apparently, as everyone else pronounces it.
Oh,
So
really? They say it differently.
Galapagos.
Troy, where do you come from? I mean, let's be realistic.
Hey, I say things at least partially correctly 80% of the time.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that. It's the city you're from.
Instead of Louisville, you have to pretend you're brushing your teeth and go Louisville.
Right.
Louisville.
Yeah.
Are you from Louisville, Kentucky?
Yes, I am.
Oh, nice.
And so
I've heard some people pronounce it level.
Yep.
Or they cut out they cut out 3/4 the letters. Like, how is this Louisville anymore?
No, that's just to say it so you get through it fast. It saves a whole bunch of time. They need to do this in a Trek where they have someone like the aliens are trying to pronounce the language. Maybe the Universal Translator is having problems translating it.
Yeah.
So,
Use half the consonant.
you're with the USS Louisville.
Oh, apparently there's something about Topeka. I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Topica.
I was about to say the only time I've been to Topeka, I spent a year there one night, but that was about it.
Prison.
You spent a year there one night?
Yeah. Have you
Topic?
been to Topeka?
Interesting.
There's nothing there.
I mean, really.
There's nothing in Kansas at all.
Drop it like it's hot.
So
So what were we talking about again?
Star Trek Lower Decks.
Something about Star Trek.
Doritos, I thought, right?
Doritos.
Cheetos, and Lower Decks. So,
Yeah.
okay. Straw poll. How many people liked, I guess I should say, how many people didn't like Lower Decks? Raise your hand. Okay, so we all pretty much all liked Lower Decks then, I think, is where we all are on this one.
I really like Lower Decks.
I do too. I really like that the show is very positive. Honestly, their characters are having a bad time, but they try to maintain positive, and you don't see a lot of bullying back and forth on the ship, even though they're making fun of like the upper deck people. Like, dude, they're so lame. Whatever. We do all the really hard work down here. They're not being overtly cruel to one another, which I appreciate right now because I just want to see that positive community that Star Trek is.
That Star Trek's supposed to be, right?
Yes, exactly. What it should be, idealistically, right?
It is by far the most Star Trek-y of the 3 shows CBS All Access has produced.
The Kurtzman saga. I've actually kind of decided that we've got Kurtzman and we've got Berman Star Trek. You've got Roddenberry Star Trek, and there was only really the 2 shows in the Roddenberry universe. You had TOS and TASS. And then you've got the Berman Star Trek, which is TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. And then you've got the Kurtzman group, which is this last 3.
Well, you could put the films as JJ.
Those are also, but Alex Kurtzman was on J.J. Abrams' crew.
Yeah, he had his finger in there, yeah.
Except for Beyond, which was the best of the 3, because Kurtzman wasn't involved with it. Good old Simon Pegg helped write that one.
Yeah, Simon Pegg was so passionate about that project. He's like, give it to me.
And it acts like Trek. I mean, Beyond acts like Trek, so there's that. Yeah, that's what. Brent's asking about the Kelvin timeline, and that's actually what we're addressing. So
that'd be the Abrams timeline, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
technically called the Kelvin timeline. So
it's 2/3 the Abrams timeline because Justin Lin did a fantastic job with that third one, and Simon Pegg and Doug Jung, who was the other writer on it. It was fantastic.
Was it Doug Jones?
It's a fun ride.
Doug
Jones.
Jung.
Oh,
Jung, I think.
Young with a
yeah, who co-wrote it with Simon Pegg.
Yeah. I agree. For a minute,
I'd say that
Doug Jones, and I was like, "What? Really? Wow!"
I was like Doug. I was trying to figure out his last name. I know it wasn't Jones. It was an Asian name.
He was I'm never surprised anymore because, I recently just found out that one of the 2 guys that created Adobe Photoshop wrote Rogue One, or co-wrote Rogue One.
Which still blows my mind. Like, that's such a weird cross-hatching of
It's like a
hobbies.
strange jump.
It does not compute.
Special effects, they match. It's not like he made Reese peanut butter cups. So
Right.
That's what
I
we're doing right
That's
now.
what we're doing right now, right here,
I can
right now.
I can definitely see how even just the cookie cutter aspect of that they took to Lower Decks feels so much more like Star Trek because they just decided to do really similar opening like you see back with TOS because that's what it's not TOS, sorry, Next Gen, since that's what it's following the coattails of. I believe it takes place after the Nemesis movie.
Yes, yeah.
It's after Nemesis.
And they clearly said, well, here's how a Trek episode goes from the old days. Let's copy that formula and then put our own storyline in it. So it does feel more like original-esque Trek than Picard or Discovery because they've clearly expanded into new territory with the way they tell their stories.
Right, and let's talk about those title cards. I mean, speaking of, they're using the next-gen font and everything straight up.
Yeah, it's a complete homage to Next Gen. The only thing I would say is that intro, even though I love it, it's funny, it seems more Voyager-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
It seems more lost in space, except for them like finding the Borg and
running away.
in it.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
out of that one.
I also love that they put the ship upside down because you don't talk about that because it doesn't matter where they are in space. But like for half the intro, the ship is upside down. When you first see it in the first episode, it's upside down. And you're like,
That's great.
So
"What should be underneath? Why is the disc not on top?" But in space, it doesn't matter. And I like that they made fun of that.
I liked. I love the uniforms.
Yeah.
Guy, are you a fan of the uniforms?
I am. I actually I drew an entire crew of the new.
I think I saw that. Did you put it on Instagram? I don't remember.
Instagram, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like
love those
that.
new uniforms. I love the fact that they're double-breasted. It actually makes me really want to go out and get one. It's
Can you?
an
I think you got to make your own.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I don't know. I bought a Picard uniform about 2 weeks before Picard came out. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, from China. So it took forever for it to get here, but that's all right. But I have it now. I've got a Picard uniform. It's kind of cool.
What about the dress uniform, though?
Yeah, I know the dress uniform is beautiful.
Because
I
I've never seen someone make fun of the word dress uniform by making it a dress.
Oddly enough, that is actually canonical. For the first 3 seasons of TNG, every time they had to get in dress uniforms, it was these long things that were down to their knees.
Yeah.
I just like you said. What do you get married after this?
Yeah, I know. You getting married?
Yeah, it was just like a TNG early season dress uniform.
Yeah,
It was like perfect.
the man skirts.
I have to go back and
The
watch.
scan.
I don't remember them being that long.
Well, there's.
Oh, yeah, they were.
We're confusing two things. There's the official dress, like there's like a mini skirt version.
The scant.
The scant, which men and women both wore.
Yes.
In TNG, but then that just all went away, and then there also was like a dress uniform where, like, for formal occasions, for weddings and for diplomatic missions that they would wear, and it was longer, and it sort of looked like a dress, but they still wore pants. So
yeah. Well, and there were 2 variants to it because first season and second season, it was as long as Boimler's version on the show. So it was that long.
It's like a tunic.
It totally is. And then third season on, they shortened it up so it was to the length of your fingertips, which was much more of a military cut to it. So
I'll share this here for anyone actually watching.
yeah,
Chelsea, if you want to see the scant, yeah.
yeah, that's
Oh my god, I have to go back and watch because I don't remember these and they look amazing.
And then here's the scant.
The scant, yeah. That's more
Scants, I love it so.
that's more season 1. You'll see the scant more often. After season 1, you don't see it nearly as much.
yeah, it kind of disappears.
Dresses, I love it. It's fantastic.
well, and that was the whole point. Was they wanted to have all the women in miniskirts because Gene Roddenberry was still in charge, but they were willing to do everybody's got to wear miniskirts then, so they went for everybody wore miniskirts.
It seems like something Gene Roddenberry would be all right with.
Yeah, Gene Roddenberry was. Yeah,
He was funky.
We totally agree, Brent. Those were nice legs. So.
It's just ahead of its time. It's like one of those things that they tried now. It might have actually worked and not received quite as much.
Yeah, but what happened was in third season, Berman actually it was actually Michael Piller who I think did this. Piller was the one who kind of forefronted the idea that they should just move everybody into uniforms because you wouldn't want to crawl around in Jeffrey's tubes in a skirt of any sort.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
I can. Yeah, I will say yes to that.
because it would damage your
but
legs,
what-
it would screw up your
but wait,
knees.
but I mean,
But what if
But-
it's hot in there, and then you have someone open up the end where your butt's facing, and you get the nice crosswind?
So that's why I always take off all my clothes before I go into Jeffrey's tube.
well, wait a
Right,
second. I
exactly.
mean, like, there's different duties, obviously. So there's some people who are just going to be a desk jockey and they want to show off their legs,
Yes,
and that's okay.
There's nothing
And as
you're
we
on
see
a
in the
science ship. You're trying to get a date. You got nice legs. If that's your feature, that's your feature.
Yeah.
You do what you share what
I
you got,
mean-
man.
engineers might not wear
Work
stance,
it,
but anyone
work
else should
it.
be able to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
what
how
if-
often is anyone not engineering going to be in the tube?
yeah.
Brent, you're gutsier
You
than
The
go,
me, man.
only
Brent.
one that, the only
Man.
thing that really didn't make any sense, the only thing that didn't make any sense was Troy's strange uniform.
Yeah.
Troy was her own special case in her own special little world.
And it wasn't only until Captain
Jericho.
Damn Jellicoe.
Jellicoe said,
and it was like Jellicoe.
Wear
we
a
hated him.
uniform.
Yeah, we hated him for everything else, but we love him for that one thing. Except that all
like,
the
no,
wear
I
a
hate-
uniform.
Actually,
I hate him for that.
Oh, okay. Well, you can hate
You
him.
do?
Dave hates him for that because he
Because
like
it wasn't like all nice.
Yeah,
fitting.
but if you ask Marina, she loves him for that. She thinks that's the
Yeah.
Oh,
best part. Finally, she could get into a normal spacesuit like everybody else. And she was like,
didn't make
Hey,
any
I wanted to
sense.
see her-
It never made any sense.
I
No.
wanted to see where all those outfits Tasha was going through in season 1
yeah, I know. Tasha was going through a ton of them.
that we never got to see her go through.
But, to be honest, I think that I always thought that Deanna Troi looked much sexier when she was in uniform. So, there was that.
Yeah.
I like the uniforms. Yeah.
Avert your eyes
Something-
because here's all of the Star Trek crew wearing the Deanna Troi uniform.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I love Riker with those
Worf-
huge shoulders. Snaps.
Yeah, Riker can do it.
Is
Worf-
Data supposed to be that stacked?
Hey, he can be built any way you want him.
I'm so concerned.
Are you saying that Data's well built? I'm just saying. I'm not saying what I'm saying.
Childhood crush coming back to haunt me. Excuse me for a second.
Yeah, well, I had to say that. Deanna Troi was my childhood crush, too. So there's that.
Oh, well, thank you, Guy.
You're
The
welcome.
non-uniform helped me with the crush, though.
I've always had a crush on you, Troy. You know that.
I know that.
It's the way it is. It's just nature of things.
What you
I do
told me
also
on
like-
Rogue One.
Exactly. I think we've even said that on Synthaholics.
Of course.
Yeah.
We can't hide our love.
No, we can't.
So,
It starts making you stop making out.
Exactly.
I know. What's the distance? The COVID-19 thing.
We didn't have COVID during Rogue One, though, so y'all were free to
No,
do
that's
as we
right.
wish.
We were just in different cities at the time. I think maybe possibly. I don't remember.
When we did Rogue One, no, it was in your basement.
Well, that's where everything happens.
That's where everything happens.
I mean, there's just a bed off camera.
Yeah. So I've noticed
yeah.
that I've got some Trek friends who I would say probably as hardcore Trekkies as you, Guy, or at least in some ways, and they fall in that category that you were talking about before, where people just despise everything coming out of CBS.
Yeah, I've
And
noticed that there are waves of this, and I feel like because I mean, when you look online and look at like just the vitriol that's coming out, I feel like that there's waves, and I'm starting to see a pattern. Like I was in the wave that hated Berman Trek, and it was the exact same thing for me. I didn't get into TNG really until maybe middle second season, and then I was begrudgingly liking it. And then third season came out with Best of Both Worlds, and I really got into it. And so,
I had that same problem where, like, I just didn't want to watch DS9 because I wasn't interested in any of the characters, and it just seemed too different, and they're stuck on a spaceship. Like, what?
Yeah.
Whatever. What can they do? And now I do love the show.
To be fair, the first 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine are a slog to get through, even though it's my favorite of the series.
If wishes were horses. Oh, I'm sorry. I must have coughed there.
Cisco's useless. And it's difficult.
And 3 more.
You know, we were talking about this before, like when you love something so much because you were introduced, like I was introduced to the original Star Trek movies, and then we moved to, you know, Next Gen, and I love Next Gen very, very much. It's hard to let go of all the things you loved about Next Gen because it's not going to be in Voyager. It's not going to be in Enterprise. It's not going to be in Disco. There's going to be new things that you will love, but those things that you love so much and you talked about so much and discussed for so long in all these different forums, it's hard to let that go and accept that this is going to be something new within the same universe. And there will be things you love. You just have to find out what you like about them.
Right. Well, and that's my thought is I think that you end up with a showrunner. In the case of Berman, you know, he was sort of crafting because he took over pretty close to second season right in there. And Roddenberry really wasn't with it. He wasn't with the times, so you can really see a distinct difference between first and second season TNG.
Yeah. When did he pass away?
He passed away in 91, but he was sidelined before that.
Right, yeah, he was off the show.
He was sidelined in 89 and put as executive producer, which just really meant that... And, I mean, according to all the books that I have read, he wrote scathing memos, and everybody just ignored them. And in a way, it was kind of sad because he kept, you know... But, to be fair, I mean... There is a little bit more of a logic to, you know, to the stuff and Code of Honor. Oh my God,
that's a terrible episode.
It is.
That was awful.
Well, even The Naked Now is not a good episode. No. You know, Encounter of Farpoint's cool, but that was written by by Dorothy Fontana. And
I think all those episodes. I mean, they're all trying to find their legs as characters and all that. But I think Gene Roddenberry had a great initial idea. But after that,
and it didn't live.
He's like Lucas. He's a broad strokes kind of guy. Don't let him touch the details.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
but
Berman,
he was still
as much as we all hated Berman, and we did, and from Terry Farrell, there's a good reason for hating Berman. But Berman crafted the newer shows. Well, Brent's saying that Measure of a Man was awesome, and it was.
It was great.
But part of that was because nobody got to touch the script very much. Because Roddenberry rewrote it and then sent it back, and Dorothy Fontana bumped it back out to the writer. And the writer got to rewrite it again and put it back where it was, and then Roddenberry never got a second pass on it.
Well, because as far as I had heard, Roddenberry was searching for the show as it appeared in his head, and you see pieces of that in, like, Voyager and in the original series and in Next Gen. It never came to full fruition as he saw it.
Right. Roddenberry's vision of what was going on was that we have hope for the future, that things can go bad, but they'll always get better. That's sort of been Roddenberry's thing. And it's interesting how everybody has expressed it, because I'm finding Kurtzman is expressing it in long form. So he's expressing that everything will get better, but you have to wait for 3 seasons for it to get better. Right?
Really? But that seems...
I don't even know if it's going to get there.
I don't know, Guy. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. He's got a bleak vision of the future.
He has no vision of the future.
Right.
None.
Well, I don't know, and we'll have to see where Discovery goes in season 3. But Picard came out on the other end on Picard was the hopeful one in the entire run of Picard, and everybody else was bleak. And now we're going to see where everybody's going to go at the end of this, because that's the pivot point. So I'll see.
I mean, 7 of 9 turned out to be basically a bounty hunter.
I like Fenris
just going
Rangers.
out, just going out and blowing people away. So I mean, she wasn't trying to peacefully resolve issues. She was just blowing people away, from what we can tell.
Wait a minute. All the humanity she got from Janeway, she just threw away and became a different kind of non-human, basically.
Raffi was a broken person. What's his name? The ship captain.
Rios.
Rios was a mess because of what he experienced.
Yeah, but I have the same kind of argument. I kind of argued a little bit via text with David about this one earlier, which was the idea that there's got to be broken people in Starfleet. You can't just have everybody perfect.
Well, I agree, and we're not talking. They're not Starfleet, so I mean,
right.
that's the important thing.
In Picard, they got kicked out. I mean, they're no longer in Starfleet. Raffi and Rios. Raffi's the way Raffi is because she got kicked out, and that makes some sense. Rios is that way because of what happened in his service, which makes sense. And we talk a little bit about Lower Decks. All of these guys are kind of weird and funky too. Well, you can't always have a ship full of William Rikers. And so
but they're cute nerds.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of cute nerds that are all stuck together.
Which is a different aspect. That's a different aspect of it.
I have a sneaking I have a sneaking suspicion that maybe the last episode or the second last episode, we're going to see Mariner completely become unraveled because of her, which I won't give away details, but her background.
Yeah, I think so too.
I love Mariner as a character, though. She's a spitfire. She takes no prisoners.
But she's kind of, I was kind of saying to Dave, she's kind of like a spoiled kid when you know her background.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to give wide latitude for what she's doing. So, I don't know.
Brent has
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was going to say Brent is making a comment that he says, I think with Picard, they are going with that no one is perfect like in TNG, but they still have the ability to do good for all. That's an interesting aspect.
I like that.
Yeah.
So here's something I'm just now observing. With horror movies and the zombie genre, it's reflective of our times. So zombies have morphed throughout the years to represent kind of the problems in society. So with it going back to we have to band together to face the zombies, and it's all about community coming together. And then it turned into everyone's turning into zombies going to the mall, and then it turned into, well, I want to shoot my neighbor, and I really hate my neighbor, but that's illegal. But he's a zombie, so I can shoot him. So it kind of got darker.
Zombie Flanders.
So I kind of see this with Trek, because with each block of Trek, it's reflecting kind of society. So original TOS was super positive in its outlook. And as we've gotten further and further, we keep seeing the reflection of the storytelling get darker and darker.
Right. With TOS, and I think also that's another thing, is we didn't live in those eras, or people didn't live in those eras. And I'm feeling like the ones who are really down on Kurtzman Trek didn't live through Berman Trek. You know what I mean?
I did.
I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just saying that the people who, and you like Lower Decks. So there's I think that there's levels here, but I feel like, and I'm not talking about like people who have a legitimate gripe. I'm talking about those people who are already whining about these shows 2 weeks.
Oh, you mean
prior.
Midnight's Edge and Doomcock?
Yeah, exactly. Those guys who are like, oh man, Doomcock, he makes me so mad because he's always like, haha, Picard's going to be canceled because it's so bad.
Well,
and you're like,
well, he said Kurtzman was fired like 2 years ago, and Kurtzman's still doing the thing. I'm like, why do you like reporting all this? Like,
it's because it's his fantasies. He fantasizes that it's since Kurtzman Trek is not Berman Trek, he's mad. And then he's fantasizing that all Trekkies hate all of the Kurtzman Trek, therefore it will be canceled. This is his fantasy, and he's living it out.
Who is this? Is this just like a commentator?
This is
he's a YouTuber, and he's got like a
YouTuber.
Okay.
But,
so he's mad.
But he also just reported...
Yeah, he's a really angry bro.
He just reported that they're going to just undo 7, 8, and 9 of Star Wars and redo them and just call them not canon. And this time they won't put a woman in charge and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. Because, of course, right?
Doomcock, it's like he's trying to be a parody, but he's not funny. Mm-hmm. If he would lean into comedy, Doomcock could be amazing. But the fact that he's not funny and that he believes his own hype,
that's like Red Letter Media,
unbearable. But
okay, so
no, Red Letter Media is legit.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like
Red
way
Letter
outside
Media is funny.
Very shocking.
I'm sorry, Chelsea. I talked right over you.
Doomcock is not funny. Like
So essentially, he's trying to do like the shock jock kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like say outlandish things, be huge, fuel the hype, make everything crazy, but not amount to anything.
The thing is, stuff as Midnight's Edge. Midnight's Edge started all this sly stuff too, and then he kind of ride on their coattails, and then they like point to each other's channel with the same rumors that there might be fact but aren't fact. I mean, he reports every single rumor that he can find. So if one of them is true, then he can claim legitimacy.
Right.
The shotgun effect.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I have noticed that the one thing about these guys are naysayers about all of it. It's like they're not really talking about the content so much as the politics behind a lot of the Trek that we're seeing. So, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because if the Trek that we're seeing now, with Discovery and with Picard, pretty much is the same politics that we had, back in, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, just pushed a couple of yard lines forward, Right. I don't see a lot of difference. We see equality between all, and whether you're whatever race you are, sexual persuasion, anything. I just don't understand what the issue is on that. But they seem to have an issue. Maybe it's also they don't like the smugness of some of the writers and producers behind it.
Right.
They don't have.
It's weird because they see the ideal future, right?
I'm sorry, Chelsea, say again.
You see the ideal future, and they feel attacked maybe because they don't feel comfortable with that future, or they don't understand it. So why is this in my sci-fi kind of a thing?
But my thing is, like, if you watch Deep Space Nine, we have Cisco, a black man, who's the captain. If you go to Voyager, you have a female captain. I mean, the only reason probably we never had a full out gay character is just because that's where television rules were at that time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was the difference is that with CBS All Access, especially,
they can do what they want.
They can do whatever they want. Nobody has to hide. Whereas in the Berman
Trek, play friends.
And I mean, like I go back every time when people talk about this, I go back to the infamous kiss between Uhura and Kirk, which Shatner intentionally botched every take except for the one where he kissed her, so they were stuck using them. They didn't have a choice. But they did that because NBC came in and said, no, you can't have a black woman and a white man kiss each other. That's not happening. And so from the motor pool. By the way, those of you in the motor pool, if you do not want me to put your names up here on the screen, just tell me. That's okay. But Brent has given permission to put your names up on his name up on screen so that we can all read it.
Brent's given us permission to put everybody's name up.
Yeah, Brent's given us permission to put everybody's name up, so I'm just going to put Troy's name up there all the time. That's what we do.
But I get that, our actual politics are difficult right now. I know a lot of people who are younger than me that are struggling with identity, and so they go by different monikers. Right. They're experimenting with gender, and a lot of people are really afraid of that because they weren't allowed to. So why is everyone younger allowed to do it now? Why am I seeing that on television? I don't want that in my face when I couldn't do it. And it's just like, it's not too late. You can be whoever you want to be. It's okay.
Yeah,
some people just don't.
They're saying that somebody or one of the person in the motor pool is saying they think it's jealousy, and I
might be jealousy. Some people just don't understand.
Sure,
it's difficult. They don't get it.
If it's outside their wheelhouse, it's super difficult. I found a post today about Rocky Horror Picture Show, where some people were saying, "Hey, it's really transphobic. This doesn't really work anymore," and it was like, well, but this was at the time. These were the terms. This is what it was like. And these theaters that would show it were college educational buildings, and it was a safe haven for people to just do whatever they needed to do. And so, some people are used to seeing their society, And if Star Trek is too different, maybe that's just too much for them.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also think that we can be... So I think a lot of this is, well, the arguments I hear is, it's all in my face now. Well, it was as much in your face as they could get away with TOS and Berman Trek, too. It's just that, as we were talking, you remember when Dax kissed her previous host,
girl,
which happened to be a wife, because it was a host of Curzon. It was Curzon's wife. Well, we had two women kissing on TV, and half the stations refused to play that episode.
My dad didn't record that episode, so I couldn't watch it because they showed the kiss, or they're leading to the kiss in the preview. So my dad skipped that week. We didn't watch that.
Right, exactly. And that's 94. That was 94.
Something like that, yeah.
And we had stations that refused to show it just because we had two women kissing, and they refused. And that's 1994. And so, we have to remember that in order for Star Trek to push any boundaries at all, they had to couch it in funny aliens or fluffy hats or, bumpy foreheads, and there was no way. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I want to know why pushing social boundaries is such a huge thing when they're like pushing tech that might not, like there are some scientists who are like, this tech might not exist, but it's super cool. And like that's okay, but the social boundary is not.
I think it's somewhere between 2015 2018. Walking Dead had an episode where they had two guys kiss.
Right.
And they got tons of hate mail about how this show's not for children. And it's like, but there's zombies eating people and you didn't complain about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Even like just a few years ago, people were losing their crap over two of the same sex kissing.
Right. Yeah. So we it's one of those things. I like Troy. When Troy first showed me Walking Dead, he's like, okay, you're going to watch the first 10 minutes of this show, and if you can't take it, this is not the show for you. Because that's where Grimes shoots the little girl zombie.
Yeah.
And if you can't take that, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's fair. I'm like, as long as no cats jumped out from anywhere behind anything, I was good.
Just to go along, I think some of it too, and like, especially Dave and I's issues with Discovery and Picard had a lot to do more with the writing aspect. Yeah, I felt there was a lot of. I thought the narratives were like, first of all, the first season of Discovery's all over the damn place.
Yeah,
like they can't figure out what they're doing with the show, and even the second season, every time I think it's getting better, they do something weird, and you're just like, why are you doing that? Like, I don't have a problem with the politics behind it. I have a problem with the writing. And the same thing with Picard, too. Like, one thing that just sticks in my craw is that I think it's the last episode or second last episode where they use that, like, magic device that the
wishful thinking
the
device.
synths gave him. Yeah, all you got to think about it, and it's like, okay, so we're just talking, this is just weird shit that, like, I mean, I know there's stuff like that throughout Star Trek, weird things, but it was just kind of weird that this, synthetic race could just invent this, like out of nowhere. So there's things like that.
Had the plans all along, and Next Gen, he just never showed anybody.
Yeah,
well, that's the button from Galaxy Quest. Hit it and reset time.
I feel like
Omega 14,
in
Omega
the
13.
newer Trek. In the newer Trek series, it's tough to deal with because, like, Picard and Discovery are so serious, but there's no little, like, fluff episodes where everything's okay and we're just going to go on an adventure. Yeah. Whereas Lower Decks feels more like we are on this adventure with them and we're learning about our characters. Like, it feels a lot more like fun Star Trek that I remember.
Well, it's like the DC movies compared to the Marvel movies. They all have like serious things, but the Marvel movies puts chuckles in there, and you can laugh. There's a punchline behind every. Huh?
This is why we can't let Troy be in charge of things.
Yeah.
Why?
Egg McGuffin.
Oh, he wrote Egg McGuffin back to the chat.
Sorry.
I don't know what that means, but
it's because you can't. I'm sorry, Aaron. Okay, for those of you at home, Aaron can't see the screen, so he's not reading anything on the bottom. So we're losing him with the discussion. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Aaron's looking at his.
He's using technology.
He's
using technology.
He had a problem with his camera, so he's rerouting the EPS conduits and reconfiguring the warp core to get
he's
on
got
the show.
blisters on his blisters.
Yeah,
but you were saying like in the old Star Trek, like you used to get a break.
Yeah, there'd be a fun, like romp, adventure, and maybe there'd be a couple jokes thrown around,
Or like Broccoli, Charles Broccoli will come in and like make a joke, or he'll like want to have sex with Troy on the holodeck. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, but that's what Magic It Makes the Sanest Man was.
Right.
Except it was really dark.
Except it was a throwaway episode that had nothing to do with the plot of the series.
Well, that's what all those other... That's what Trouble with Tribbles is, too.
But there was no thread in the original series. I mean, Discovery had a limited amount of time to tell a story, which it forgot to tell, and then they had an episode that had nothing to do with anything.
Well, and I think what we're...
Run to the end!
I'm giving them a break because, for me, I remember the first season of TNG where I was like, okay, I can write better than this with my eyes closed. And all of my junior high buddies and I were writing scripts to submit because we thought we can write better than these guys. So let's just write and submit some scripts because they need help. And then the first 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine, with the exception of Duet, it's the same thing. And we were doing, oh God, you guys, come on. I could write Bajorans better than this, and I don't even know who they are. And you guys are like completely screwing up their religion, and you're not even consistent between 2 episodes as to what the Bajorans can do and stuff like that. And then I remember the first 2 seasons of Voyager where I was like, yeah. So we've got a woman who's in charge, and the only way we can make it believable is to make her super butch and irritating. Okay. I can write this one too. So it was the same thing. The first 2 seasons of all of these shows. So the fact that I know that
my question is, why do we have to forgive them every single first 2 seasons for every single show? Why can't we have one just out the gate great? And
Lower Decks is coming out of the gate pretty good.
So far, but I mean, but up until now, every first 2 seasons of all the shows have been rough bark.
Yeah, and I mean, Enterprise got better in second season, but then they went to the Xindi arc, and it's like,
oh, I know, the Xindi arc. Put a nail through my head.
Oh my God, 4th season's so good of Enterprise. 4th season. So you could watch 2nd season and 4th season of Enterprise, and you're okay.
You're okay, and after that,
Broken Bow, you have to watch Broken Bow, but then start at Carbon Creek and go from there, and then you just go away until Stormfront 2. Don't watch Stormfront 2. Just watch
To tie it back to the previous point, though, every time they start a new show, they have to figure out what their formula is, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like for Disco, after watching it a second time, they just wanted to be mysterious. And you're like, okay, but could you explain the things that you set up, please? Because it's frustrating, right? Because you're watching a new show and you want to love it. You want to go in with a fresh start, but they don't know how to do a fresh start because we're all Trekkie nerds just powering off the last thing that we saw, and we want to make our version original and new. And how do you do that?
But to piggyback off that, my issue with it is that, especially with the beginning of Disco, I felt like there was a lot of writers that did not know Trek very well. Where Lower Decks, these guys know it. They know it inside and out.
Trek, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just feel like, I think they're finally getting it. I think they're finally understanding, they've watched a good amount of Trek to understand, okay, this is what Trek's really like. I felt like a lot of people didn't really understand. Just like I felt like, the JJ movies, JJ didn't have an understanding of Trek.
And he admitted that.
He just knew.
And he says I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Well, yeah, it's obvious because Beyond is so good because Simon.
But JJ had nothing to do with it.
Right. Simon Pegg was involved, and Simon Pegg, he could take me to task, you know. It's like,
well, I mean, but it's like giving someone like the controls of a airplane and being like, please fly my airplane. It's my favorite airplane, and you're like, I don't know how to do this, but okay, you know, like maybe you should read the manual for like a couple months before you get behind the, you know, the stick there, you know.
I have also, but I mean, I've been, especially with the guy in the middle over there, this one right here. He and I have been in creative groups together a number of times, and I have watched how something can get muddled down. You know, we'll have a good idea, we'll have a good concept, and but this would be cool to add, but this would be cool to add, but this would be cool to add. And by about 6 months in, you're like, wait a minute, what were we originally after on this concept? Because I think we've lost sight of it. And I feel like...
it's really easy to downplay yourself or down-talk yourself until you have nothing.
Right. I think I think what they've gotten into was... CBS said, okay, it's time for Star Trek to come around, and everybody went, well, thank goodness. Oh, hey, we are free to do anything we want. If we've got a blank slate, what would we do? What would we do? And everybody just threw everything in the middle, and it needed one more pass. That's the way I feel about both Picard and Discovery. They needed just one more, you know,
maybe a showrunner with a slightly more iron fist. Because I wonder how many of these shows have such a big committee with no one really wanting to back down or step forward, and that's
a good point, Troy. Yeah,
David said that too.
The big issue is that season 1 of Discovery had 3 different writers' rooms. They got cycled out, and they had 3 different groups basically. And then they lost the showrunners, switched also twice during season 1. They switched again in season 2. Showrunners switched in the middle of Picard from Kurtzman to what's his face? Shaban.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about the writers' room. I don't remember reading about any shakeups in the writers' room. But Shaban.
Well, then there's that big.
The writers' room was always overseen by Sir Patrick.
But also, I know Shaban went in and changed a bunch of stuff that Kurtzman had already written down.
Right.
So I mean, there's lots of rewrites going on. So none of these shows have had a concise, singular vision. They've always been like throwing everything at the wall and hoping it sticks by so many different people, and it shows because they do not feel concise, and they're not well written. They're all over the place.
And it's like a mosaic of stuff, and sometimes it doesn't like jive. You know, it's like that's the issue I have with it. I think that the concepts are great, the characters are great, the actors and the effects are amazing. It's the writing that drives me bonkers because, you know, Dave and I always go to. I mean, now we're talking about Expanse, just before Lower Decks came up, and we are in love with the Expanse. And yes, I know it was a fully fleshed out novel, but that's what we're talking about here now. It's like, this is what we're up against. You have Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and The Expanse. These are fully fleshed out ideas that are coming to the audience. And that's what you're competing with.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And CBS All Access is putting this out as like, this is what's going to sell their brand. It's not going to work to most people.
Well,
it's still like that premium service wall that kills me because they knew Trekkies would pay for it, which pisses me off.
It's built on the back of Trekkies. It's their brand is built on Trek.
After you keep canceling all of our shows as soon as they finally get good and consistent, and then they're canceled. Like it's hell.
Yeah. So,
but David was saying something. Hang on.
Chelsea, that is absolutely perfect because you're saying how, like, you know, it's built on the back of Trekkies. Well, it's built on the back of Trekkies, and then they go in and then make the show not really for Trekkies. They're trying to pitch it to a new audience. But where's that new audience? What new people are coming into seeing this?
Yeah, it's only going to be Trekkies. Yeah.
So
brought on our friend.
Right. Well, there is something I want to kind of bring up here because this is actually. I have read way too many books behind the scenes of everything. There is one thing that I have known that Star Trek has, and I'm seeing that they are still being plagued by it now. and that is the network. The network gets into the nitty-gritty of each and every one of these shows because they're so worried that it won't work. And that's what happened, obviously, with Discovery, because they kept cycling the writer's room. That happened with Picard. They cycled the writer's room. They're worried that the show won't work. They come in, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And it's always somebody who's not either a Trek fan, somebody who's just, they're worried that if you put the color chartreuse out there, then everybody in the South will ban this show, and so you can't wear chartreuse, and or whatever. And they come up with all this crap. And what happens is, by third season, they've shown that they've got a following, they've shown that everything's okay, and the suits leave the show alone. One of the reasons why Deep Space Nine is so good is because the suits were fidgeting about Voyager, and all the suits were all concentrated on Voyager. So Deep Space Nine Ira Bear has talked about this all the time. He's like, finally the suits left, and we were like, okay, let's get down to it. Let's get into a war.
Yeah, right.
I've said it many times in Synthaholics. The suits got their eyes off of Deep Space Nine onto Voyager, and then it just got amazing because
and you can see it with every show. Absolutely. The suits were involved in TNG up until about season 3, and then they left it alone once they realized that it was making money and everything was fine. The suits were involved in Deep Space Nine right up until Voyager came along, at which time the suits left and went over to Voyager. And then Voyager then Voyager was messed up. But then again, you had the same thing. The suits left after about season 2 or 3, and then Voyager actually found its legs. But the suits fretted over Voyager the entire time. But the suits were involved in Enterprise for all 4 seasons.
And it was rough.
And so you can see that Enterprise is a mess. Well, CBS All Access has this entirely new brand. They've got this entirely new culture. Everything is new right now with CBS All Access, and they're fretting over everything. And so here you've got, well, they want this to succeed.
I'm still mad because I feel like they opened up CBS All Access not with anything else but with Star Trek Discovery. Oh, yeah. If you're making us pay for it, stop messing with it. We're already here.
But, this is the problem.
Amen, Chelsea.
I totally agree with you, Chelsea, and I am, by the way, not justifying anything. I'm just observing something that I have seen all along. The suits are that manager that doesn't know what your job is, but keeps coming in and telling you what your job needs to be.
Oh, yeah.
That's what these suits are. And they keep saying, hey, you either take away the funny guy with a funny bumpy head, or we're going to stop funding your show and cancel you. Well, okay. I guess.
Here's the thing.
Give Chelsea the conch.
You have Lower Decks. And Lower Decks comes out of the gate and just fires. So did they finally just set them free and figure it out? Because it's been, a year?
I don't
think they're not looking at it as hard.
But it's for kids, right? It was supposed to bring kids into the Trek fold?
I think it's not kids. I think it's like teens kind of thing. So
luckily animation has changed, and you can thank Japanese anime for that. But
is it because parents are paying for CBS All Access and their teens and kids want to watch it, so they can just throw whatever garbage they want out there? But
that's the thing is, honestly, my kids have watched some of Discovery, but there are some of it I can't show them.
Yeah,
what Klingon sex doesn't sell to kids?
Yeah, I know, right?
How old are your kids?
12 and 10.
Okay, I just asked for a reference because it's interesting what some people show their kids and what some people don't. There's limits for every parent, right?
Example, I don't think it's going to do well for that target audience because it really felt like it really was targeted at the Trekkie because of all the inside jokes.
Well, I think that's what happened. When I heard what CBS All Access was doing from their promos and everything like that, it was, hey, we're going to bring in a younger audience. And then I watched it, and I'm like, nah, this is another Star Trek. They're just adding, doing it in a different format. It's exactly like the animated series from the 70s.
Can I say something too? I've said this. I don't know if I said it on our last podcast that we talked about, but I firmly believe that this is the last generation that will enjoy Trek, because unless they make Trek accessible to more people, especially younger audiences who don't want to pay for CBS All Access, nobody's going to tune in. It's going to be us. It's the former fans that are going to want to watch it. So, my kids, they watch Trek just because Dad watches Trek. They're not tuning in for themselves.
Yeah, and Brent's saying that's why he thinks The Mandalorian is working. Disney didn't get involved. The suits won't get involved in The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is gorgeous. That is, I'm not even a big Star Wars fan necessarily. I love Star Wars, but I'm not as big into Star Wars as I am Star Trek, but I love The Mandalorian.
But from what I've heard from that, they went ahead and showed everything they were going to do in advance, and it was just approved and out the door.
Yep.
And that's what Trek, as we've said, consistently doesn't do.
And they can't.
In those first couple of seasons, because they can't.
And I'm even more worried about it, to piggyback on what Aaron was saying. I'm even more worried now that Viacom's involved, and they're putting all of it back together again with Paramount. That means more suits. And suits are not doing this any good.
Right. Well, and you're seeing all these fan projects. Like, they're notorious for striking down fan projects. Yep. You can't touch Star Trek in any sense of loving way, or like the only thing they're not touching, as far as I've seen, is the fan fiction world, which I think is very strange. Because you have to remember that there's all these people writing so much content that know so much lore, and there's so much talent that they could pull from. And I find it interesting that they never pull from that talent pool, really. Like, you see Simon Pegg, but Simon Pegg was already famous and was able to pull in. You see these other people who make these little connections and are able to get into that Star Trek world. But it's oddly competitive, and it's oddly like a fierce fandom, and I just wonder if it's the way it's built up, because the fandom wants to protect itself, because everybody's already come after them, including the suits, including the studios. All these people are just like, attack, 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 attack. Is there a point to being a Trekkie when you're just going to be attacked for what you love by the people who are making you the content that you are now purchasing?
Well,
amen, Chelsea.
But the one thing I'd say too is that, like how we were talking about The Mandalorian, how big of a success that was. It's success for two reasons. One, it's kid friendly enough that you can watch, with your kids, and there's nothing too gory or too awful in it that they can watch. And Baby Yoda, of course, is a smash hit, which no one's going to fight anybody for. But the other side of it is that, older fans, Mandalorian just makes all these callbacks without saying anything, just by putting a symbol on a wall, or a certain type of blaster or a certain type of armor or something like that. And it just, the nerds just go crazy for it. They're like, holy shit, did you see that? Did you see that? And it's like just little Easter eggs just peppered throughout the whole thing. And when you had Discovery come out, here he is before the original series, and you felt like, what world am I in? This isn't like, I don't expect him to look like TOS, because original series was obviously made of all like, plywood and shoestrings.
And those dots candies.
But yeah, you can't do that. But they finally caught up when they did season 2, and they tried to make, Pike's ship, and they nailed that really good. They finally did. But the first season, you got everyone just kind of like genuflect, over this like world. Like, what is this? This is not Star. The Klingons don't look like Klingons, and people are losing their minds. So
the ships look futuristic. They don't look like TOS ships. You can make it updated and still maintain the TOS era feel, but nothing felt like TOS.
Yeah, and we're
external visuals.
And every time we bring this up, I keep thinking about my feeling about Star Trek Hilton, which is what we called TNG, right?
TNG,
because
right.
I mean, where were the hallways and the multicolored? Everything looks like it's the lobby of a Hilton hotel, and it's like, well,
but
you know,
I know what you're saying.
You can change the interiors to modernize them, but the exteriors
it looked like a duck.
But I know, but guy, how
future.
It's literally like 100 years in the future, 80 years in the future. Sure. So it's like, what are we
in the same era of TOS? Like there should have been some visual callback.
Right.
It's square nacelles instead of round nacelles, and it was just because what's his face mandated it. Like he mandated the Klingons being different.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. That's
Fuller.
That's the problem with this whole thing. Is, like I said, you've got Brian Fuller, who wasn't really. He had a different idea. He was a suit. There are people who are Trekkies, and then there are people who are suits.
But we thought Brian Fuller was a Trekkie because he was an alumni.
But
I mean, he wasn't.
You know, and it's like sometimes they're just suits. But also, I mean, like Troy had to wear a skirt forever because the suits said so too. I mean, she was selling.
Maybe he was a Trekkie. Maybe he was a Trekkie who got caught in a transporter accident with a suit.
Maybe he was a Dino, a Trekkie in name only.
But he has a beard. Just remember, he's the evil one, right?
Was Franklin a suit? Did he merge with Franklin and become part suit?
Right.
Yes.
From Relics?
So, that's. I mean, I see a lot of what we're saying here, and we don't need to go back into. I'm so sorry. We thought the same thing about Enterprise because Enterprise looked too futuristic to fit with TOS too.
I thought Enterprise was. I mean, it did, but it also had some callbacks to make it look. The nacelles were round. I mean, like it was like.
When they did the Defiant, that Defiant looked exactly like the original series,
and they were all like freaking out about how cool it was.
Yeah. But you remember, John Eaves designed the NX-01, and he designed all the ships for Discovery. So it was the same designer. So that's a suit. It's a suit involved because I've actually interviewed John Eaves numerous times, and the guy is like totally on board with all this stuff, and he loves the Star Trek lore, and you know what I mean. It's like stuff like that. So
the cool thing is Lower Decks is making those callbacks, and the only thing I see people having a problem with is it's a comedy. It's a comedy cartoon. It's purely comedy, and some people can't get past that.
Yeah.
You know, and why not? Why can't Trek be a little more comedy driven? Because we haven't seen a show that really focuses on, you know, these people are trying to survive in a crazy environment.
Yeah. We do have Orville and Galaxy Quest, but this is the first time Trek has decided to go into that territory
and make fun of itself, right?
Yes, I think some people jumped the gun on this one too because one of the creators worked on Rick and Morty. And so people were completely expecting Rick and Morty with a Star Trek skin, which is not at all what it is because Rick and Morty is not PG-13. It's much worse than that.
It's R. It's pretty much
hard R. Yeah. I think people going there wanting it to be Rick and Morty as Star Trek are going to be the ones disappointed because that's not what it is. It's definitely much lighter in the humor. I feel like it's doing the thing where it's in that gray zone the way that Orville was when it first started of like trying to figure out where is my humor and how far do I want to go? And we're going to see the same thing in about 4 or 5 episodes. It'll start hopefully hitting dead on the nail every time and we'll find its footing. Because it's, I put it at about a 6 out of a 10. I thought it was good enough. I'm happy to watch the next couple of episodes, but it wasn't good enough that I think I can recommend it to people unless if they are, like Guy, a Trekkie who's going to go, hey, I get that. And I bet 80% of the audience didn't get that.
That's a good point. It is an inside joke for Trekkies.
But it's still fun for a light Trekkie. Sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
I'm going to find the picture we saw earlier about the shapeshifter.
Oh no, you're fine, Chelsea. I agree with Troy. I mean, like I like this show. Aaron likes the show, and we all seem to kind of like the show. But I'm with Troy. I don't think I can recommend it to anyone who's not a super hard Trekkie because I mean, it's not Mandalorian levels of good where anyone can enjoy it. You still have to be super hard in the Star Trek to really enjoy Lower Decks, I think. Because it's not Rick and Morty with a Star Trek skin for the Rick and Morty fans. And that might be more accessible to a general audience, but it's still so hard on Star Trek. You still got to have that fandom. I don't think it's a good bringer in for newcomers.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of when I had cousins watching The Family Guy, and they were younger than me, and I'm like, "There's no way you got that joke." It's like that's a Gen X joke. I mean, nobody's going to get that unless you grew up in that era or you knew what that music reference or movie reference was. So but strangely enough, people still watch that. So
it's in that weird middle for me, I feel like, where it's like Animaniacs, where I watched it as a kid and half the stuff flew over my head. Yeah. And I'll go back and watch it later and I'll pick up more stuff.
You got more jokes.
More of the show.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen every single piece. I don't remember every single little thing here and there. But if I go back and, watch a couple movies and then go watch the show, I might pick up things here and there. And I love that. I like picking up 1 to 2 things where like Guy is leaving us comments about like, oh, she's doing this. Oh, this happened. Oh, this happened here. And I'm like, I love that knowledge. I'm happy to have that knowledge with another larger Trekkie fan there. I'm so happy to have that because it becomes a connection then. It becomes a jumping board, right?
Right.
Well, and everything in there is something entertaining. What she was talking about, of course, is there's a scene where Mariner is asleep and she's dreaming and she's mumbling. And what she's mumbling is literally what Khan was saying in Star Trek 2. And she's just mumbling the Star Trek 2 stuff. Well, nobody's going to catch that. So...
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. I picked up on it, but I wasn't really sure what she was saying for a second.
So in the second episode, there's a shapeshifter. Mm-hmm. And Guy recognized the shapeshifter from the original animated series. I can't find a picture of it from Lower Decks, but there's a picture from the original animated series.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That on.
Grabbed it.
So,
like, hey.
There we go. But yeah, if you happen to see the second episode, keep your eye out for the shapeshifter who makes a cameo from the cartoon.
Yep.
So,
which means that now all 3 of the Kurtzman Star Treks have referenced in one way or another the animated series.
I know.
Thus canonizing, finally, the animated series.
I used to argue with people like, this is canon. People would be like, no, it's not. It's bullshit.
Yep, totally.
Where are the life field suits that are just belts? Where are those, if it's canon?
Maybe they weren't. They didn't properly work. They had leaks, right.
Recall. Dr. McCoy went out in those things.
Yeah, Dr. McCoy wouldn't even transport.
Yeah.
See if it's 100 years in the future. Yeah.
Oh, I love
This thing should be foolproof now. 100 years of advancement.
Okay, so we've gone over by about 9 minutes for the show, for all of you guys who are watching our live show. We can continue on if you want, or we can go on ahead and move on to the Synthaholics section of this where we'll get all spoiler heavy. So
this is where we take our shirts off.
Or we can just move spoiler heavy now. And if you,
because that's the way. That's the rule.
Hey, we're in 2020 now. I can't for everybody.
I can't see anybody, so I'm sorry. I just see me, so I'm sorry.
And he's into the idea of taking his own shirt off. So.
Oh, that's the Patreon reward for him to run naked through the woods.
That's right.
So, Brent, are you okay with going on then into spoiler territory? If you guys want to hang on, we're going to go on to what we would call the Synthaholics side of this, where we can get into heavy spoilers and talk about it. All 5 of us have seen both episodes. So Brent's saying just keep going, keep broadcasting.
So we'll just drop the warning that we're going to talk about.
Spoiler warning from here on out.
Take warning that Aaron's taking his shirt off.
How much can you spoil a 30-minute cartoon anyway?
Well, we can go through all of the inside jokes
everywhere.
Okay, he's caught up. He says so. Okay, so if anybody here is on the show has not seen episode 1 and 2. Now is the time to either stop the podcast or stop watching us here. I hate to make people go away, but this is the time.
We might actually encourage people to watch it by giving them spoilers.
Go away.
But there we go. Okay, so we're now in spoiler territory. So spoiler alert. Wait a minute. Computer. Red alert. Okay.
Didn't work.
He's all red now.
For Aaron's benefit, the lights have now changed in Guy's studio.
Oh, great.
to red.
Yeah, he's turned red.
You need a spoiler alert to go along with your red alert.
You need the alarm.
Angry mode.
So okay, so let's talk in depth about these episodes.
Yeah.
Somehow I keep like totally overrunning Aaron. I'm so sorry, Aaron. I don't mean to keep running you over.
Well, this is their show now. You gotta shut up, guy.
Shut up.
It's your show.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
Well, let's just go to the very beginning and talk about the characters, and so we the Balmer, Mariner. What's the Orion's name?
Tendi. I pulled her up.
Tendi,
and
Rutherford.
Rutherford. Yeah, and those are the main characters. Who's your favorites?
I love Rutherford so much. He's so adorable. As the quirky little cyborg boy with the fastest love story I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Yep. And then I'm still in Club Tendi. I love her. She would be me if I was on a starship. That'd be me. I'd be like,
yeah, that would be.
It's
you.
A warp nacelle, and then stare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tendi's my favorite. I'm hoping for some hard Orion lore since we got so little Orion lore in Star Trek. I'm really hoping we'll have a Tendi focused episode where we get to learn a lot more about the Orion. So I'm fully on Team Tendi as well.
Yeah, apparently there's no sand on Orion, or maybe there's no oceans. Yeah. That might be part
because there's no sand anywhere, right? I'm more interested in Mariner because, like I said before, I feel that there's a bombshell ready to be like there's a deeper story there, and I'm more interested in that. So
she was a first officer. She got demoted all the way back down to ensign because she's like spaz.
Yeah. Right. Well, she probably did something to break the rules and got herself in trouble.
She said she was gray off the Klingon, so I mean, she had to have been high up to do that.
I think that what's probably going to happen. Well, I think what happened is that she's a spaz because she got bumped back all the way down to ensign.
What about you, Troy? You didn't.
Yeah. It's I am in the same boat as you, though. I think Mariner is a really cool character, and a lot of what she's doing is clearly she's pushing that test of how far can she push her parents.
Yeah.
Having kids, I totally see that. Like, don't do that. You'll get punished. Do it anyway. Well, now you're punished. Why are you punishing me? Because I told you I would. So I see her totally being in that mindset of like, how far can I push and test my parents?
Yeah.
I'm also liking Rutherford just for the fact that I just made a role-playing character for Guy's Star Trek game that's coming up, who is 100% a techie. And so his mindset is exactly how I was envisioning my character in the game of like, he's loves tech and fixing things and has no other care about personal life or anything else like that. But I'm also making the character to be like Wesley because I want everybody to hate him.
Nice.
But yeah, for only an hour worth of a show, they've really only given us like the main four there, the backgrounds, and it'll be interesting to see when they start devoting more of a storyline to one or two characters instead of trying to spread it out, which they have to do at the beginning. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, we got just the introductions.
Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot about Mariner and her personality anyway. Like, she obviously knows a lot because of her parents and because of her experience, but she also knows that Starfleet is not exactly the greatest place because of how bureaucratic it is. Mm-hmm. Like, her giving farm equipment to this colony low key and like knowing a lot about their culture, even after being on the first visit, to keep all that in mind for the second visit, that's a very compassionate thing to do. And she's just trying to do the right thing, even though it's not the legal thing. Right. And trying to drag her colleague into it, like, listen, I need you to be on my side because I am in the right here. It's not the good thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that what I think is going to be more interesting is to see why, like Troy was sort of saying, like the friction between her parents, like I kind of feel like she's got this background that front loads her to a more robust character, where like someone like Balmer is just reading everything through like manuals, you know, and he's more excited about the idea, but he hasn't had the experience yet. She has experience, but something jaded her to the point where maybe it was her parents, maybe it was the experience within Starfleet. I mean, who knows? But that she just, you know, doesn't care for the rules anymore.
Yeah.
So
that's the way I see her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and she's willing to jump into it, whereas Bomer is not. Even though he's read about this and wants all that glory, he doesn't want to do anything to attain that glory necessarily. He's a very unwilling participant.
I would say maybe not unwilling, but maybe not realizing that it's up to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like
okay,
I think when we're all younger, we're always like waiting for permission to do something, and not realizing that permission just comes from you. You just do it, you know, whether someone asks you to do it or not, because like however you want to take control of your life. It's up to you. It's nobody's going to give you that, you know, key to that door. You just got to like find a way in, you know, kind of thing. So
I am humored by the way that one of the ongoing jokes is that Captain Freeman cannot pronounce Boimler's name correctly.
I know. Yeah.
Nobody here has pronounced his name correctly either.
Is it Boimler?
No, it's Boimler. Boimler.
Boimler.
Yeah, Boimler. Which I think is hysterical because, of course, Freeman calls him Bumford right off the bat.
Yeah.
That was
Bumford,
particularly
right.
humorous.
Right.
And, of
Bumford.
course...
Not even close.
Yeah, it's not even close. But Mariner calls him Boims.
Right.
And actually,
Boims, yeah.
What's even cooler is Tawny Newsome. When she's tweeting, she'll tweet at Boims, and she'll keep talking to him, Jack Quaid. She'll keep messaging Jack Quaid, or you know, tapping him on Twitter with the word Boims. So
that's funny.
Clearly, she's going to keep that nickname for him. But you know,
that's good. Yeah.
There's a background thing. So.
I feel like we haven't still seen much of Tendi. Tendi is the least fleshed out character at this point.
But she held a heart.
She did. But, like, what's her life like?
Right.
What are her goals? She's on a starship and she's very enthusiastic. But what's next for her?
She's Section 31. She's going to betray them all.
I actually agree with... I don't remember whether it was David or Aaron said this, but somebody was saying that I want to see more about the Orion homeworld, too. I mean, it was David.
I just want more Orion background because, I mean, we had the original series, we saw a couple of Orions. With Enterprise, we saw a couple of Orions. Nothing in TNG, nothing in TOS. And then in Deep Space Nine, we had this giant subplot about the Orion Syndicate, and we saw a total of 0 Orions.
Right.
Well, but in the anime series, there were some Orions.
And they were treated just like they were just, you know...
just typical bad guys. Bad guys.
But I mean,
Brett says, are we just going to ignore the weightlifting holodeck scene?
No,
I actually thought that was awesome.
We talked about that one.
That was awesome.
No, it was funny.
That was.
Oh, it's very detailed.
Yeah, it's very detailed. What I liked was you might want to stand back. We may not be getting direct penis jokes, but at least we're getting indirect penis jokes, and that makes it funnier. I like them when they're indirect.
So we got obviously the first episode, kind of like the introduction of all the characters, and then what would you say the second episode is more of like
it's just
more
like an away mission gone wrong.
Yeah,
but it's more of like a dynamics between Boimler and Mariner.
Yeah.
You know, it's just seeing how they bounce off each other and how she kind of like gives him like gives him a break with that Ferengi at the very end.
Yeah.
You know, to give him like a victory kind of thing.
Give him one so he stays because she wants him to stay. But like, what are her intentions with him staying? She says, "I'm your mentor and everything."
Yeah.
But is it really just so that is he a shield?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I am curious about that because it's just a weird dynamic because in the first episode she's like, I hate Starfleet, but I'm here and I have to be, and you guys suck for wanting to be command. And then in this episode she's still giving out that vibe, but as soon as he says I'm out, she's like, no, you can't do that. So I'm interested to see what her end game is because I'm hoping she becomes a more human character, because right now she's almost too cartoony for me.
Yeah, Shax is the one that's way too cartoony for me. But
she's
the
she's larger than life in a way.
Officer. The Bajoran
he's
security
funny.
officer.
No.
He's
No,
funny.
he's-
Come
no,
on,
he's
he's just
I know.
stupid.
It's like
He's just a big muscle head.
Well, yeah, but it's like, what should we do? We should blow ourselves up. What?
Yeah, that's funny.
Right? And I mean, apparently that's like, I mean, just seeing clips from other episodes, but he also does the, it's an unknown life form. I've targeted phasers and photon torpedoes. Can I?
It's a total Worf. That's a total Worf play.
It's a Worf thing.
Yeah, but he's a
Worf
caricature of Worf. So
yeah, my favorite non-character, not non-main character is the Doctor.
Yeah, the Doctor's great. Acation.
Is that a boy or a girl? I can't even tell.
It's a girl.
It's a girl.
Is it? I thought it was.
It's Anna. Yeah. She's
not nearly as sexy as the TAS cat.
Yeah, not as good as Maress. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maress was way hotter.
But I feel like Anna is much older too. I also feel like she's got like Alley Cat. Part of her is Alley Cat because she's so.
She's like Alley Cat mixed with Bones. What was he doing?
That's great. It's awesome.
God.
I mean, we got the cat creatures in the animated series in the beginning, but then we saw them peppered in through the movies. So we got them in
the cat lady that died as soon as she touched water.
Yeah, in it probably was
Electric.
Yeah, Star Trek 5, but they're also in the council hall in Star Trek 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 3, I can't remember.
Clearly, it was 4, and it was at the end whenever they were clearing them of their name and everybody but Kirk, which got demoted.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Cations have been part of Star Trek for a while, but that was the first time that we've sort of nodded towards. But you couldn't tell whether that was a Cation or a Zinti, right? And so, because the Zinti also looked cat-like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's spelled with a K. So it's Kzinti. The K is silent. But she's looking it up.
Was it Larry who wrote the books? Larry Niven?
Larry Niven, yeah. And there was a dispute. There was a dispute in the late 70s about that. And Niven and Roddenberry had a huge falling out over it. And so that's part of the reason, the primary reason, that the animated series was decanonized was because of that dispute. Which is why, when Riker mentions having a fight with a Zinti in Picard, it instantly canonized all of the animated series.
Yeah.
Because
that's a slaver weapon, right? That was
the slaver weapon. You got it.
You and I talked about it for like 3 hours.
Yeah, we did.
Podcast. Yes, that was a very long one.
It was a very long podcast.
But I mean, but the fact that we have a main character that's a Zinti, not just Maress, who was a main character as a Cation. Now we've got Cations going on. This is canonizing Cations, and I think that's great.
I always imagined Zinti as like the muscular, rough and tough versions of Cations.
Yeah.
Like the Klingon versions of Cations.
That's kind of what I'm seeing, yeah.
Yeah. And
like
I think that's the way that Starfleet Battles has put them out, was the Zinti were the actual war-running race, and the Cations are just part of the Federation. And it's like a thing. Okay. But, I like her a lot. I think she's cool.
Yeah.
But I'm having a problem with Shax. I don't mind. The only thing I didn't mind about him was at least even Worf would say, I'm ready to fire photons. Don't fire photons yet, Worf, and he'd just be quiet. He didn't go, oh, come on.
But that's the joke of it, I mean.
I know it is.
So let's talk about...
wanted to say, oh, come on, if you saw his face.
Well, let's talk about the actual second episode, Envoy, that just came out. Obviously, they get selected to bring the Klingon delegate, general. I don't know really what his position was, down to a planet. They were just supposed to transport him.
He was going to be doing peace negotiations, so I guess he was a diplomat.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's as all Klingons. They're just complete a child. They just do whatever the hell they want, and they act like complete insanity without any responsibility whatsoever. So Mariner and the Klingon just go nuts, because they know each other from before. So which goes to see we're part of some gray ops. So gray ops means something kind of shady, but not like totally, secret.
Yeah.
So,
but it does imply,
and they're blood tied to each other.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Wow.
This implies that she had more rank than we think. If she was doing, in fact, Boimler says that. Boimler says,
so
we're
the
same
what I was saying earlier. I'm like, maybe she was the commander.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's either lieutenant commander, something like that. I mean,
and she got bumped back down to ensign.
She got busted all the way back down.
Or she's lying.
Lying.
Maybe she lied about it. I doubt that they would go that in depth, but I could see her just saying, "Oh, we dealt with gray ops," because that would shut them up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I don't think they thought that deep into it, though. She probably they're going to be a lot more transparent, I think, with her background like that.
Yeah.
And I like how he does comment how power walking is how Section 31 gets around.
Yeah.
That was the only part that really made me mad this episode, because Discovery Season 2, everyone knows about Section 31. Deep Space Nine, no one has a clue. And then there's still like an ensign who's just a by-the-books person knows Section 31. I'm like, no.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a boogeyman story. Nobody's supposed to believe them.
Yeah, that does really drives us. Me and Dave crazy.
Heard of them?
Yeah,
from Deep Space Nine, like because Bashir takes it to Cisco, and Cisco's like, "Yeah, we don't know anything. I've never heard of this. This is made up. This is fake." And unless they publicized it, but it didn't seem like they did or would have.
Maybe they put out a full-page ad.
Yeah. Someone put a full page ad on the New York Times.
Is it Boimler who mentioned Section 38?
31.
31. Sorry.
It was Boimler. He says they power walk. I'm like, no, don't mention Section 31.
Because
don't do it.
If a character was going to know about that, it would make more sense to me that Mariner would know that.
Yeah, Mariner would know.
Yeah,
Mariner.
If she was in Grey Ops, I could see her knowing, but not Boimler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Boimler's too by the book. He really shouldn't know.
He should not know that.
I agree.
That was my biggest issue, canon-wise, that episode.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I like Rutherford's arc in this episode because Rutherford is trying to appease a friend and throws himself out there even though he knows he loves engineering.
Yeah, sure, I'll change my career for a friend.
Everybody's stoked for him. The entire ship of nerds is like, yeah, do what you want, dude.
Yeah, I like how everyone's so supportive of him changing divisions constantly.
I love how Jeff Foxworthy is the chief engineer of the Cerritos.
Yeah, he doesn't he look just like Jeff Foxworthy?
He looks just like Jeff Foxworthy.
He does.
Kind of amazing.
Which is another one of those. It's amazing to me who is a Trekkie. I'm always shocked by whenever I find out that they're Trekkies.
Is Jeff Foxworthy a Trekkie?
That's why he went for the job.
Was it actually him?
It's not. He's not actually Jeff Foxworthy.
I thought it was Jeff Foxworthy.
No, I don't think so.
Whoever's the engineer really is like somebody famous. I just don't know him very well.
I don't know.
He looked just like Jeff Foxworthy, though.
Yeah.
I'll
look it up.
But yeah, I mean, it is funny that Rutherford could just change divisions, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that's awesome." But basically, Rutherford.
Yeah,
but
it's
Rutherford
Paul Scheer.
Okay,
it's Paul Scheer.
But I mean, like anybody, but he knocks it out of the park. Well, except Command, he wasn't very good at Command.
He wasn't.
And it was hilarious,
was the best
like
part of the
when they blew all the children out the ship, and they were just like, "I've ran this 1,000 times.
This has never happened before. Let's get a bigger ship with more children on it."
It was.
It's Rutherford's like the children, all those children.
I laughed so hard at that part.
I love how the Janeway maneuver kills all the children because that's got to be a poke at Voyager for doing a terrible job doing the 75 years home thing. They should have become a generation ship and had all these children. They never did. That's the Janeway maneuver.
Yeah.
Just lose all the children.
Block using the kindergarten, quick! Block the asteroid with the kindergarten.
Yeah, the pre-K kids all going flying out. Oh my god.
It's already crazy. He's such a chaotic dude. He comes on the first episode and he's got that little thing. And they're like, should you get that looked at? And he's like, nah.
Yeah.
Bullshit. That guy is chaos.
Well, that's I mean,
bit off in Piranha's 3D, so he's got to have something going for him.
So you do know that he's married to Rebecca Romijn, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I told her in that last
two
week.
number ones. Oh, I wasn't on the last. I didn't listen to the last show. So two number ones on this show.
Yeah,
and they're both married. This is the first time we've had a married couple working on two different Star Trek shows.
Star Trek shows, right? Yeah,
and of course their bestie is Jonathan Frakes. So
right.
they hang out all the time and then argue over who's the number one. Which
I bet.
Great.
Nerds.
That's great.
Oh my god.
I mean, Rebecca Romijn would be because she was the first for number one.
You'd think, but who had the role first?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Michelle Barrett.
That's true.
Hey, David and Eric, have either of you played Starfleet Battles?
Yeah, back years ago I did. In fact, I talked to Guy about it, but it's been since the 80s.
Right. It's really. I remember on the little ship card as you took damage, some of the boxes were just called auxiliary boxes. They weren't even engines or anything. They were just boxes to get hit. And I could see making up something like, "Oh, that was the kindergarten."
Right? Oh, I know. Right, I know. Well, but back
the
then,
boxes that break warp's back.
Back with the TOS ships, I mean, like you never really thought about kids being on the ship. So
right.
It wasn't until next gen they start throwing kids on things and families. So
a blade of armor.
A blade of armor.
That's what kids are.
Send them to the edge of the ship.
Right? Apparently, that's where the kindergarten is on the back end of the saucer. I mean,
yeah, right by the engineering.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Our children.
Put them by the dilithium crystals.
Put them by the radiation.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We'll make them have superpowers one day.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
So the Rutherford arc was great, and then but it's just like he's an engineer through and through. That's what he is.
I wonder if we're going to see more of that implant as well, because we did a little bit in the first episode where she adjusts it so he can feel human emotions and promptly freaks out, and in this one where he's using it as a combat trigger. But like it just kind of seems to be a one joke kind of a thing per episode, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I feel like he might come in handy later.
Yeah, probably.
Speaking of one jokes, have anybody noticed that the My Bones is going to be the one joke through the show? Some character has said My Bones in
he said
episodes.
He said it with the giant spider, right?
And then the shapeshifter says it in the second episode.
Oh, that's right.
He says My Bones. So this is my prediction.
I didn't pick up on that. Yeah,
this is my prediction. The last episode is going to be like the funeral of Dr. McCoy, and somebody's going to go, My Bones. That's my prediction. And if they don't, I'm going to be so disappointed.
That's funny.
If you guys are listening,
or at least
thrown
in there somewhere.
You're setting yourself up for disappointment, guy.
I know. If you're listening, writers, go in there and reanimate that scene right now.
Yes, rework it. Yeah, and the other part I liked too was the whole Andorian section of the planet. Like, don't look up, keep your eyes down. Like, don't mess with these guys. It's like, don't lecture me on the Andorians.
They're the founding member of the Federation.
What I loved about that one was they were Enterprise Andorians, but Boimler's right. They were a founding member of the Federation, and during like TOS and everything else, they're like these docile people, but during Enterprise, like they were like such a disaster area. So it's very funny that Boimler has the Star Trek TOS view of the Andorians, and Mariner has the Enterprise view of the Andorians.
And when they go in the bar, they got those little ice knife things.
Yep.
Which was, I was like, oh, see, that's a deep cut. Then unless you watch Enterprise and you watch those episodes, you wouldn't get those weapons. What those weapons were,
right?
You know,
so just many another deep cuts. Like, I mean, obviously, Mariner's little speech at the end of episode 1 was just one right after another deep cut.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Like Gary Mitchell. Yeah.
Gary Mitchell out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, she was like, I'll be your Chadich. And I'm like, okay, nobody knows that one unless they've seen the episode where Worf gets like disowned. You know, it's like,
right.
You know, it's Heart of that's Heart of the Warrior, right? No, it's Redemption 1 and 2. So that's Redemption 2.
Redemption 1 and 2.
So you have to have seen Redemption 1 and 2 to even understand what a Chadich is. You know, so there's a deep cut. And then she's like, you know, did you know about Spock? He came back from the dead.
Yeah.
She's like,
but she even mentions like when he comes back from the dead. Like, I've never seen Star Trek break the fourth wall before.
I know.
And it was just done so easily.
And it was just beautiful.
It was great. I'm glad she acknowledged that, because in Voyager, it seemed like Tuvok didn't even realize that was a thing.
Right.
Because he didn't believe in the Katra. And I'm like, what? Like, in the lifetime, Spock came back from the dead because of his Katra. How do you not believe in the Katra?
Right.
Well, Genesis is off limits.
Yep.
But I mean, it's got to be documented that they like put him.
And of course, you mentioned Gary Mitchell.
Yeah, Gary Mitchell, who became completely, you know, psionic and crazy. So,
man,
those awful silver contacts that cut your eyes up.
Oh yeah, that was pretty brutal for both of them. I felt bad for both of those guys. But I mean, little things like the stupid dune buggy from Nemesis. That was
that came up. Yeah,
the Argo.
Yeah, the Argo from Nemesis. They've got like 60 of them on the ground there. And they're trying all over the place.
That's awesome.
Well, how else do you transport your hose?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
You got to ride in style.
Oh, man. And then, of course, the floating orb. I love the floating orb in episode 2.
I thought it was... I was wondering who was going to impregnate Tendi. Oh, no.
Right, exactly. It was either impregnating or it was going to cause everybody to fight each other.
From Day of the Dove, right. Yeah,
I mean, so it's like the child, Day of the Dove. Who are we? I mean, it's like you could just name the episodes that it's just calling to right there. That was beautiful.
I feel like how easily it was dealt with, because that could have been the whole episode, and it's just gone.
Right.
So quickly. You're like, wait.
The canister.
And then they never talk about it again, and you're like, this is my life now.
They need to bring up the tricorder again. I was really hoping they would have brought up the tricorder again.
Oh, but I did. I brought it up again. I've got a friend who does props, and he does a beautiful job on these props. And so he just posted on Instagram. He's been working on tricorders. And he's even got a red tricorder right now, and I don't know where the red tricorder is specifically referencing, but it's somewhere because he's a hardcore Trekkie, and he's got. So I posted it there, and I'm like, I want the cool new tricorder with a purple stripe, bam! And I don't know whether he got it or not. I don't know if he's seen this episode.
He probably, maybe hasn't seen it yet. Yeah.
But I've told him that now, and that's what I want. I want the new tricorder.
I want the purple stripey one.
I do too. I gotta admit, that's pretty cool. But you have to give me the crystal. The power crystal has to go with it.
I know.
You made it without batteries, and he turns himself into this little pea, and it just dies on the cat.
I like how he poops it out. He's like,
yeah,
that's great.
A big missed opportunity on this episode was like, as we had a Klingon on, we didn't get the double dick comment or joke or something, because I mean, come on, like if you're going to do a comedy series, you gotta into Klingons, like that's. We've been making fun of that since he's mentioned it on Discovery.
They did make a joke about it, though.
Kind of, but not really.
It was very backhanded. But it was, I've got to tell you about all my sexual conquests. And she goes, both of them?
That was like a quick joke.
Yeah, but...
Bam!
I don't know. It was I don't know. It could have been taken multiple ways. I mean, I thought it could have been that, but it also could have been like, what, you got two girls? Right?
Yeah, of course. That's so that it's not a direct one. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was winning a little bit harder.
A joke.
What's
Yeah,
that, Chelsea?
The romantic conquest, or what? All two of them, both hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
bit of
two-hand joke.
masturbation joke as well. I mean, it's so multi-layered. It could be honestly anything.
It could be anything. That's why I was like, it wasn't hard enough as a reference.
It wasn't direct.
It was a light reference.
It was that.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So we moved
Poor
to
Andy this episode, just like left in the wind. All you see is that she wants to see the star, and what's his name? I already forgot his name. Rutherford is trying to make sure that he can, because clearly they have a cute little we like science-y things connection, which is further developed when he's in medbay with her. But other than that, we really don't get a lot of her this episode.
Hopefully next week we'll get some more Tendi.
Yeah,
she needs to come into the light because we had a big Rutherford arc this week, so Tendi needs some love.
Yeah,
she's a lot of love. She's like the one character that we need like a main episode for, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I like that too.
I agree. Yeah, so and there were a lot of let's talk about some of the other interesting. I mean, we had lots of gawk jokes, which totally makes sense.
You gotta have them.
Yeah,
gotta have them.
We're making Klingon statements, so we've got to make gawk jokes. That's just the way it goes.
Oh, and they did a Klingon poop joke. Aaron and I have loved doing those.
They did. He pooped on his sword. He pooped on his sword. Yeah.
That's so not good for kids.
I think it's so like obviously like they've now established the characters like and do you think like we'll get more interaction with the the chief staff, or do you think they'll still be kind of like an annoying like thorn in their sides?
Probably just be cameos. I think
they
are
too.
I hope so, because they're so not fleshed out.
Yeah.
They're very one dimensional. Like I said, Shax bothers me because he seems like he's just Worf on steroids, without any depth. Because Worf at least got more than just let's kill them all, hunt them down and kill them. Which
Worf was the main character.
Yeah, Worf was the main character, but the captain just seems to be mad at Mariner, and that's about it. And
and maybe we'll see more of her dad or more of her friends, because for Mariner, it's her friends that make her important, right? All of her connections are what make her this big person in the world. So what happens if she loses all those, connections, and we have kind of a callback to like Firefly, a Memories episode where she's just kind of going through who is she as a person.
Yeah.
I got a feeling that we're going to get the parents in visiting her or not visiting her, but something going to happen where where she's from and all that stuff is going to come into sharp focus, and I think it'll be probably the last couple episodes, and I think it's going to be like a bombshell kind of thing. So that's why I'm more interested in her, because she's such a loose cannon because of probably what's happened, like she's kind of like, I don't give a fuck kind of thing. So
she's a space princess.
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm. Very much so.
So is it she's going to finally be sent home, or what's going on? Because she knows a lot, clearly. She knows a lot, and that might come back to burn her at some point, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be the cliffhanger of the season. They kick her out of Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to promote her. Because that'll make her mad.
Well, if they promote her, then she's not Lower Decks.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point, right? That somewhere along the line, Mom's going to realize that the Lower Decks guys are enabling her and keeping her in the, allowing her to be a complete dork. And so she's going to promote her because she's going to turn around and, all this stuff. She started out by saying, we'll throw her in the brig. And the dad was like, that didn't work. She loved the brig. Right. So totally they're going to promote her.
And that's going to burn her bridge with Boimler if they do that. He's going to feel real burned. If they're both up for promotion and they might have to fight for it, and
that's a good point.
Promoting her kid anyway, he's going to feel burned. And then it's going to be who's on what side.
Do you think this series is going to go past first season, or do you think
it's been renewed for second? They already announced 2 seasons for it.
I didn't know that.
Well, to be fair, Lower Decks is easier to make in a pandemic.
Yes,
They can
much
just have everybody record in their own houses. I mean, heck, we're doing it right here.
It didn't go on too long, but I feel like they came in strong with good characters that I'm interested to see get in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
I don't
I like all the characters.
Seasons. I want to see like 4 solid seasons and be done.
I don't think it could go much longer than 4.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing will be is seeing if they go over that line that Guy and I refer to as the chicken episode, which is from MASH, which is when you have a comedy come up and have an episode that's just heart-wrenching and goes into serious drama, and it hits you even harder because you've been going along with it as a comedy. And without giving any spoilers away to the MASH episode, it's called a chicken episode for a reason. And then Scrubs is another good example of this. They had an episode called My Screw Up with Brandon Fraser. So anybody who's seen that knows, wow, that episode tore my heart out. So it'll be interesting to see if they have a serious, heart-wrenching drama happen in one of the episodes to really make these characters far more in depth.
Right.
Yeah,
Troy, in Next Gen, there was an episode called Lower Decks, which was a heart-wrenching episode. So it would be nice if the animated show paid homage to that show and did a heart-wrenching episode, because I was really... When they first announced Lower Decks, I was really not happy with them calling it Lower Decks because I have such respect for that episode, and this was going to be animated comedy, and I'm like, they're going to just shit all over that amazing, beautiful, heart-wrenching episode by doing a weird kiddie cartoon thing, and it's blowing me away so far. I'm really enjoying the show, but it would be great if they actually did a heart-wrenching episode to pay homage to the namesake of this episode.
It was like I was telling you, Guy, that the last episode of that Midnight Gospel,
yes,
is just, oh my god, it's so, it's heart wrenching. It tears your heart out.
I think that's what really makes comedy shows, though, because there are comedies who go into that. All right, we've had fun time, but we need to discuss this big thing that's been at the edge of your vision, even if you didn't see it. And now here, it's a big problem. And
time to give you a gut punch.
And it makes it stick out so much more than just a regular drama where it's like, everything is bad and it's getting worse and it's not going to get better. That's tough to watch. But when you're watching a comedy and you get that punch, it is a lesson and it sticks in your brain forever. Because you just remember that one poignant thing. And I love those lessons because you remember them so well, because you love these characters so much. And you're used to them being these funny, upbeat people, and you forget that they're people. There's still this undercurrent of their own feelings, especially for Mariner in particular. She's a wild child, but she probably has a lot of angst versus Starfleet, versus her parents, versus what she's expected to do. And that's probably going to be our big gut punch of the season.
Well, in this episode, she's laughing at an admiral falls off a stage or something like that. So she's just taking little pleasures in other people's pain because she hates Starfleet that much.
That's Schadenfreude, man.
Yeah, right. I feel as I kind of said this to David too over text today. I feel like Mariner is very much Hawkeye. Hawkeye would never wear a uniform. He would never, you know what I mean? He was every.
But Guy, you got a preference that this is MASH you're talking about, not the Avengers,
right? Oh, right. Sorry, Hawkeye Pierce from MASH. But I mean, wears Hawaiian shirts, won't wear a uniform to save his life, but does the job. He's not going to not save a life,
and he's good at it.
And he's good.
So good. And there are so many gut-wrenching points where, like, he loses somebody, or, like, losing his best friend. His best friend gets to go home and gets shot down, and that is...
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. It's the worst thing ever when you're trying to do homework and watching a comedy, and then all of a sudden your favorite person dies.
Yeah.
And it goes... Because you forget that comedians are that coin of light and dark, right? They are so light, but so dark.
There's a dark side to all comedians because they know that's what they're that's what they're squeezing out. They find the humor in things, but there's a dark side they go through to get that humor.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if Q is going to be in this season.
Oh God.
Of Lower Decks.
Oh, that
Q
would
and
be perfect.
Mariner together. Oh God.
As much
That
as
would
I
be amazing.
absolutely love Q and I love John Delancey, and I don't want to I really feel like that's everything that Lower Decks has done so far has been all of the like, here are the things that you see in the background and everything like that has been part of the universe. We've talked about Batliths. We've talked about even the Argo. We've talked about, things like that. That's just part of the universe, but it's a nice callback that somebody's paying close attention to. So far, nobody has said that, everybody has picked on the Enterprise. Oh, and this random ship out in the middle of nowhere, which is where Q will show up. So I don't know if I feel like that wouldn't fit.
So make it not Q that we know, but another of his race, like a lesser Q, a lowercase Q,
a lowercase Q,
or Q's son could come mess with him, and then the Q proper could show up. I mean,
you're doing it wrong,
Tremaine.
Yeah,
Tremaine.
I mean, they have mentioned that they are going to have legacy characters come. So that would be great. And one thing I mentioned last week that you guys didn't get to hear, but I think it'd be great seeing Mariner have to deal with Packlet.
Yes.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
Because they're so slow and dense, and she's so fast and spazzy. I think that would be a great team up episode where she has to deal with the dumbest people in the world. It'd be great.
So that's another thing that I thought was fascinating. It seems like all the classic Star Trek plots make cameos in these shows. Like, the plot is about, Rutherford trying to figure out what division he belongs in. And, here's a Star Trek plot, and it's resolved. And Rutherford still, you know what I mean? It's like they're really doing character-directed stories that have these sort of side stories about Star Trek plots, like the little shining ball thing, Yeah. The shining ball thing was was the entire plot of 2 episodes we could pull up from Star Trek, and Mariner had it dealt with in less time than she can make a speech about the lieutenant that she wants to hit on. I mean, you know what I mean?
Before the stinger.
Right. It was gone before even the opening credits.
Right.
With saying that, I think you could easily make an episode where she's sent on a diplomatic mission and it just continues to go wrong because she's too high speed. It'd be really easy to do that, and the others have to save her somehow.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because so far she really has had everything under control. So I think that our big shift is going to be...
She has fingers in everything.
The moment she loses control of that stuff, that's where we're going to have a real twist for that character.
But to be fair, she hasn't really been in a situation so far in the last 2 episodes that are out of her control. I mean, the zombie thing is probably the worst, but she was in a group with the command as well. So everything has been pretty mediocre, just problems so far.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and that's the thing, is she's navigating the underbelly of a military organization very well.
Right.
I mean, she is the Catch-22 character. I mean, she's totally right out of Joseph Heller's book.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and she can easily do it because she knows all this. This is all this is old hat for her. So she doesn't have to break a brain cell worrying about things or trying to figure things out because she's done this before or she's seen it done before. So.
Right. Well, she was Boimler 5 years ago.
Right, exactly.
And now she's jaded and miserable, probably because her parents have screwed up her career, either by promoting
or
because they, I'm not going to promote you, Mariner. Your mom is Captain Freeman, and I don't want to look like nepotism. She's my friend, so you're just going to have to stay at lieutenant for another 3 years and not go up a grade, even though you deserve it. Yada yada yada. So.
Right.
I feel like
maybe she should have been a writer.
Right.
So here's a question. considering how competent she is, she makes 2 mistakes in the second episode. The question is, did she make those mistakes on purpose as an overlapping plan to eventually lead to the Ferengi? The mistakes being she trusted a drunken Klingon who has stolen ships twice to not steal a ship a third time. And she's acknowledged, oh, he does this all the time. She should have known he was going to do it a third time.
Sure.
Her backup plan was, oh, no problem.
Yeah.
Her backup plan, well, she had a backup plan. Oh, we'll teleport back and we'll tell it to come back on autopilot. But she did not know, or she pretended to not know, that that wasn't an option because of the shielding of the planet.
It does show that she is short-sighted sometimes.
Yeah.
Either that or she had planned the whole adventure.
I think she planned
with
it.
the drunken Klingon because she knows she's able to find out exactly where he is so conveniently. Maybe she was just trying to get Boimler, first of all, to do something outside of his comfort zone and actually do something for once himself. And then watch him when everything goes crazy. What does he actually do? And that's why she feels bad when he's like, I'm done. When we get back, I'm done. I don't know anything. And so she has to then make that third plan to redeem him real quick.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
That's a possibility, too.
She
Or it
was
could be
trying to get him some real-world
Go ahead.
experience. She was trying to get him real-world experience because he's always trying to do things by the book, by the Federation handbook, and she's got all this experience, and she's trying to show him what it really takes. So I think she, everything was planned, and she knew it. Like I don't think she made any mistakes.
She is very good at not admitting any mistakes, too. So it's hard to know when it was a mistake and when it wasn't.
Right.
So she always comes across as the, oh, that was part of my plan, or, oh, that's no big deal, I'll fix it.
I'll fix it in post.
Yeah, just like us.
Right.
So, but she's definitely the alpha.
Yeah.
Well, like, what does she do in Lower Decks? Because technically she's under Boimler, correct?
They're both ensigns, so they're
Or
both
they at
ensigns.
the same level. Okay, he's just the training liaison
Right.
for Tendi.
Right, right.
Well,
Okay.
and anytime military wise, when you're busted back down, you lose your time and grade sometimes. So she would normally have time and grade on him, but she can't have time and grade on him because she was busted back down. So technically, he would be above her.
Yeah.
Good point.
So,
Nice.
but that's one of those things. If you're both the same rank, the next thing you fall on is who's been in the service longer, and then that
Right.
person's in charge, and that's called time and grade. And it's the you and I are both ensigns, but I've been in the Army for 5 years, and you've been in the Army for 4.5 years. So I've got time and grade, so I'm in charge on this mission. So that's how.
And at what point does Boimler read her bio? Sooner or later, it seems like he hasn't even taken the time to read what her
I'm sure if you're an
roster.
ensign, you can't just bring up. Oh, I'm going to look up Aaron's bio here. Look at.
But any alien race who
But you
seems
just-
over can look it up.
But you could look up their their service duty and stuff like that. What ship they were on before and all that stuff. So I
They
mean,
gave full access to Khan.
Yeah. But I mean, of course, who knows? I mean, she's got an admiral for a dad. She could have had a purged record for all we know.
yeah, good point. They've maybe
But
purged.
Boimler would actually dig. He's one of those people because he likes to be in control and he likes to know who he's working with.
Right.
Because he likes to be the big man in the room. He likes to seem smart. So maybe he has looked it up. We don't really know what their relationship is in particular because it's a weird relationship.
He did
it
say I
seems
didn't
like
know
they've
that.
known each other for a while. Because she pops in on him are you doing personal logs? Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like she's known him for a while, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe they just met the week before and she's a drunk, crazy woman who's just I'll shade on you no matter what.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe both. Yeah.
Well, he when she said, "Look, this is because I was here on First Contact because I was here with a different ship." He was like, "Well, I didn't know that." So there is a moment where he says so maybe he's got a rule that he won't start. It's kind of like, If I were to go over to your house, Chelsea, I wouldn't go rummaging through all of your personal belongings. Maybe he's got a rule that you don't rummage through other people's, personal logs or whatever. I don't know.
It does bring up the question too of what is the security measures for that? What personal logs can any particular character look up without rank?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that's ever been established.
That has not.
Not that I know of.
Do you like the joke that the captain makes where she asks him how many personal logs he does a day, and he goes, maybe 3. And she goes, it's actually 5, and 5 is way too many a day.
It's like, that's excessive.
But yet he's standing in her office while she's doing a captain's log.
Yeah, right,
and then
right.
I'm so sorry about that. It's so interesting. It might be interesting to find out that Boimler's parents might also be captains somewhere, and he's trying to live up to them. Or maybe his parents are dead captains that he's trying to live up to and just can't get there because he didn't have the guidance.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking we were talking about this before, and it popped in my head that she's obviously legacy Starfleet, so she's got not just her experience but her parents' experience infused into her, through her whole life. Where Boimler probably just coming in, just his first couple of years, yeah, just gone to academy. Couple, service course, so, like he's probably never had that before. So it's,
he seems lost. Like he doesn't have a good role model in his life that can guide him really well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just one of those things. Because we were talking about it before, and I was just reminded there's a story about Julius Caesar, reading the conquests of Alexander the Great, and just weeping that he could never be as great as Alexander the Great. But Alexander the Great had a whole different lifestyle. Like he was literally primed to do what he needed to do. As a ruler, as a conqueror. Julius Caesar came up from nothing. I mean, he had rich parents, but he didn't have the connections that Alexander the Great had. So Alexander the Great had a huge leg up on him on Julius Caesar just the first 20 years of his life. And it's how people hold themselves to different standards, and they beat themselves up on things that there's out of their control. They'll never. There's certain things you just can't. Mariner has 20 some years of growing up in a Starfleet family,
And yet she also seems like she has a lot of firsthand experience, not just the stories of her parents' legacies, but running off with Klingons and knowing how each race interacts and knowing how to deal with people when you don't know the language. It's the very street smart versus book smart, but it's also the leg up of experience versus very, very new and shiny eyed. And I kind of wonder what their age difference is in a way, because you can't really tell. I feel like everybody's the same age, and then Command's a little bit older because they're Command. So it's hard to tell.
And Mariner could be sort of like a Wesley Crusher on a ship. Maybe she was groomed to be an officer.
Could you imagine that too? That kind of, and especially with her parents being a little more ambitious. Wesley's mom is all the way far away, and he's on the bridge.
Yeah.
He deals with her sometimes, but not all the time. And he's treated very much as an adult. But
Wesley burned out sooner or later too. He quit Starfleet, so
ran the Traveler,
hung out with the Traveler, went out into whereverville.
Weird hand space.
So, do we want to talk anything further? I think we cover a lot of the bases for the second episode. Yeah. I think we're pretty good with that. I don't want to exhaust the subject.
Yeah, we could talk about Guy now that he's gone.
Oh, cool. Let's.
Yeah, he said I'll be right back, and he disappeared.
He disappeared.
So, yeah,
probably had
running away.
Go.
It has been 2 hours and 5 minutes.
He'll never watch this episode, so we can actually say anything we want about him.
Oh,
so.
Nice. What can we say about him?
Oh, man. Oh, he's back. Never mind.
Oh, damn it.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for more Synthaholics.
Bye! Wait.
No, Aaron, you can do the outro now.
Great. So guys, tell everybody.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Tell everybody in our audience where they can find you guys.
Everywhere. Anything under Rocky Mountain Geek Tank is us, or RMGT. We're on Facebook. That's usually where we do our live broadcast. We go live at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're based out of Denver, Colorado. You can also find most of our podcasts, because we started podcasting first, at www.rockymountaingeektank.com.
Sweet. And for us, you can find us at synthaholics.com. You can find our Facebook page at Facebook.com/groups/Synthaholics. You can tweet at us at Synthaholic Duo. And if this is show something you want to support, please go to our Patreon, Patreon.com/Synthaholics, and donate there. And obviously, leaving reviews on Apple Podcast, or just telling your friends about these different podcasts and the content. If this is something you value, please let people know. We appreciate it. Guys, this has been a thrill to have everybody all together in one tent.
It's been a long time coming.
We get guys like on regular rotation. So
that's actually what started this. Was I was supposed to be on regular rotation.
Yes, right, exactly. So.
What guys did you lose for that?
I can't say here.
Oh, okay.
It's great to have you guys, and you probably don't even know, but I mean, up until maybe a couple months ago, I watched you guys almost regularly when you guys came on. I think it was Wednesday before, wasn't it? You guys moved it to Thursday.
I think we were.
Yeah, I think that's when I kind of like faded out for a second because I couldn't find it. Anyways, but yeah, I enjoy your guys' stuff, and you guys are great. So,
well, thanks for having us on your show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having your live stream.
We'll talk about more things soon.
Yes, Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk would be fun to talk about. Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can't wait.
All right, guys. Well, until then, and next week, we'll be talking about Lower Decks, and we'll be talking about, obviously, a book review of Dune as well. So you can tune in for that.
We're moving Dune to later in the week, and we'll put it as the middle of the week. So we're kind of going to switcheroo on you guys. So.
That's right. But until then, guys, as always, live long and prosper, one and all.
Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink before the night's over. I'll puke in the sink and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend